All right, so another video. This one is for The Wolf, and that's by Carew, something like that. It's early in the morning, right before work. This is the time I have to review. So yeah, that's it. I'm in a car, my car. So it was, I would say it was really good. It was really solid. I spent a lot of time on it because I have not as much time as I did before, so I get like 30 minutes here and maybe only once more session of like 20 minutes somewhere else down the line in a day. So it takes a while on these books now. And this one I spent like a week and a half on or something, even though it's not the longest of books. But because of that, which I haven't experienced in a while, I just had time to sit with these characters and really experience the story and ruminate sometimes over the story, which I don't really have time to do usually because I'm always blasting through books, or I used to. And this one took a while, and because of that, I think I appreciated it more. And it was a story, basically. It's a world, and you're in really Great Britain, the northern half of England, really, in an alternate reality, and everything's called the same, like the Saxons and the Utes and the Angles and all this other stuff, right? But you have this weird race called the Anakim, which you are in the shoes of. The main character is a young teenager just coming into his own out of his apprenticeship into war, into a leader under the tutelage of his father, the Black Lord. That's who you're with, the Anakim. They're really tall, they're really strong, they've got bone plate armor in their like midsection, but they're very nature-like, I guess. But there are also other races in the world that you don't really meet, but the world kind of is set up like, you know, how we used to be with other types of humans, right? Other types of people in the world at the same time, before people killed them all and eradicated them. And that's kind of what this book is we're in the midst of that, but we're in kind of a late medieval kind of setting where there are cannons, everyone's got armor, and cavalry's still a thing, and swords and axes and shields and all this, but there are cannons. So that's something important, I guess, to think of technologically where they're at. What else? Anyways, you're in the shoes of the Anakim, the young lord, right? The young Black Lord, thrust into a situation where the Southerners, who control all of really France, let's say, which you don't really worry about, but also southern England, and they're invading and encroaching on Anakim territory. You're kind of focusing on the young lord coming into his own. Oh, that was my camera turning off. Front camera. Anyways, him taking his own, him getting leadership and having to earn it, because you don't just become lord and everyone fawns over you in this culture. It's, hey, you get it now, prove yourself. This is a warlike society, so you must prove yourself worthy, or you're just going to be not followed. And he has, there's political rivals. There are really strong chances that he'll be assassinated by his own people, and that's without even taking on the massive southern human threat coming from the south, with a leader, Bellamus, I think, who is someone who understands the Anakim more than you'd expect, and more than the Southerners would expect, right? He is a human, but he has spent a lot of time learning the language, learning the culture, all this. Think of him like a Thrawn-esque, without like the twirling mustache kind of thing, more like a southern up jump, not a lord but a soldier who wants to lead men, and he has skills and he uses them to his ability, and he uses those to gain upper hand and get to know what's going on. And that's really interesting too. You get his point of view, and it's really just two point of views, and it works really well like that, because you get both views of the battlefield, both views of the different sides of this border. It's a very interesting novel, and you kind of get an Alexander the Great-esque story in this. And I say Alexander the Great because, the campaign and how the war happens doesn't really follow Alexander at all. However, that everyone knows Alexander, right? Where it's, hey, you follow Boy King through his exploits as he conquers, or as he, does what he does to gain his indelible mark on time, really, is what that is. And so that's what this book is. Very interesting stuff. I really enjoyed it. I'd say the writing style didn't feel very like standoutish at first, and then but as the book was going, I really got used to it and really started enjoying it. And there was the way things were described, and I remember highlighting this, the way things were described, especially the battles and the settings of the battles and how things happened, were very interesting and very vibrant. And the metaphors that were used, or the ways that authors, especially this one, used to get me as the reader to fully understand what was like this was glistening like this, or this was the crash of lightning, or the crash of thunder, and the bright lightning looked like that. Like that kind of stuff can really fall flat with authors who are no good at it, and you're just like, whatever, like this, like that, whatever. With this one, the metaphors and the stuff that was being described in this book was so vibrant, and the correct words were used all the time, that I can clearly see this book in my head, while so many others I cannot. And that's a strength of this book and this author, and I really enjoyed that. Like there's battles, there's political scheming, there is lots of highs, lots of lows. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit slow in the beginning, but like after the initial set piece, but after we kind of got a firm footing with this character, which was maybe like 15-20% in, it really felt like a solid read. A really solid read that will stick because of how well it did at what it set out to do, which wasn't, to topple the fantasy genre or redefine it, but was to tell the tale of the Black Lord coming into his own from young adult to seasoned warrior young adult. And there are more books in the series, and I could potentially read them. I actually am looking forward to more books because there's a lot to go. But honestly, if you just, as I read it, if you just want to read it as more hopeful than it probably is the whole series, then, and stop here, then that might be it. Because if it's fashioned on real world history, sort of, well, the Anakim did not last. So that's not spoilers, I don't know, but in the book or the series, but that's where it looks like it's going, I think, based off of context clues, and I just can't bear to see it. But anyways, I would give this book a 7.8. No, an 8 out of 10. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. It really passed. I originally gave it a 7.8 on my notepad that I wrote down before, but after talking about it and thinking about it and seeing all those images in my head and those really interesting scenes, and there were some good characters too, really good characters, side characters, I have to give it an 8. It's a solid 8. It's the best 8. It's the most solid 8 you can give, because it just hits most every mark except for the beginning. Anywho, that's the review. That's it. Probably expect more reviews in a car, because that's when I have time. I'm just doing so much now. But on to the next book, and on to my work day.